I would like to welcome you to the 8th session. The title is Key Issues in the Regional Energy Transition. We have included in the program 3 streamlines to approach the decarbonization, the renewables, and the energy efficiency. I must admit that this panel is the most populated. We have 7 panelists who have joined this session. So the challenge on my shoulders is heavier than with the previous moderators, and I will try to catch up this 30 minutes that we are late and behind schedule, so we may end the program in a reasonable time. I have asked our distinguished panelist members and speakers to try to pick up the key issues that formulate this topic about energy transition in the region. As professionals, we all act locally, but I believe we should be thinking regionally, because finally, we are a part of a broader spectrum. We are members geographically, at least, of Southeast Europe, and this is also the reason why we get together today on the occasion of the Energy Dialogue, which is hosted by INE. And on that basis, I believe so far we have managed to interact and discuss issues of importance about the energy transition. We have heard already that energy transition is progressing, but obviously we are not there for many reasons. I hope that this session will manage to highlight the key issues. Each member will, from its own perspective, representing its own organization, will try, I hope, to emphasize to 1 or 2 issues so we can progress the discussion and come to some kind of conclusions. The first member on the panel is Mr. Spiros Kyrtsis, who is a manager, New Technologies and Alternative Energy Sources of Hellenic Energy Group. I believe we don't need to introduce Hellenic Energy Group. And I would like to invite Spiros to take the floor and walk us through his keynote speech to open this session. Thank you, Spiros.
Thank you, guys. Hello to everyone. Well, in fact, I'm a bit frustrated now because you are in my hometown, in the town in Thessaloniki, where my family lives, and I'm now in my office in Athens, and it's not possible for me to join you there, but that's part of the game. Anyway, energy transition for us, for Hellenic Energy Group, is a reality, is a name, and don't forget that 2 years ago, our name was Hellenic Petroleum, and now it's Hellenic with IQ at the end, energy, which means that we are shifting towards a broader spectrum of energy investments, products, services, and so on. Well, in fact, I can give you some opportunities we had, both as energy consumers and as energy producers. I'll give you the industrial view. And of course, the experience we have in almost all Balkan states, since we have a number of affiliated companies, starting from the northern part, which is in Montenegro, and going down, and also in Romania now with our renewables, and going down to Cyprus, the southern part of Europe for this area. So, which is the scope? The scope is the transition to a low carbon footprint economy. And of course, providing the equivalent energy, which will be low carbon footprint energy, is something that is crucial. I will talk to you for 3 topics. The one is decarbonization of hard-to-abate industries. The second is the renewable area and some barriers we're facing. And of course, the third one I'll give you the future of this. And I will discuss all these issues. I try to be very brief because I know time is really pressing. Well, let's start about decarbonization. First of all, we have a very tough legislative regime, especially for European Union countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Cyprus, that we have binding targets. And it's not easy to overcome all these issues. But since it is this transition, this energy transition is a universal request, I think all the countries in the area are having the same targets and they aim in decarbonization. But this has a lot of problems, and they have a lot of problems. Why? Because there are some technical barriers, there are some financial or funding barriers, and there are some social issues regarding the social acceptance of all this. Well, honestly speaking, investing in energy, and especially in renewable energy, is not the easiest part. And this means you have to overcome problems with curtailments due to grid problems. There is no enough capacity in the electrical grid. It is not easy to be stable and work and operate stable with this type of grid, so you have curtailments. You cannot match production of, especially of excess renewable energy, and the consumption that we want. We have problems that might be resolved with battery energy storage systems, but still the cost is another significant issue for this. And this means that we have to focus on storage, both in macro and at micro level. Behind the meter would be one nice solution, especially for the most problematic, let's say, renewables that are photovoltaics, that have a limited time they can produce, only during daylight. And also the request for smarter electrical grids in order to have the ability to control the demand and try to set aside problems like excess of energy and so on. When we are talking about batteries, and I have heard many discussions about renewable energy and that, okay, the silver bullet to resolve all problems is batteries. I have to say that that's nice, but first of all, they cost a lot of money. And unfortunately, we have only a single source of supply, or at least the majority of the batteries today are coming from a single country, and this is China. Also, all the raw materials that we require, they come from the same country, which means that we have some security of supply issues, especially on this. Another case is what else we can do. Today we have some existing technology on batteries, on water storage. We have an existing technology on photovoltaics and on wind turbines. And what's the future? What's next? We have to invest in renewables, in offshore renewables, offshore wind farms. We have to use the surplus of this electricity, this renewable electricity, to produce e-fuels, synthetic fuels, in order to cover the needs, especially for heavy-duty vehicles. Since electrification is the main route we are now heading on, mobility, we have to use it for charging our electric vehicles. And all these that are really nice today have one significant problem. And this is the associated cost. And of course, the investment risk, especially today. Today we have what we are facing. We are facing inflation. We are facing increased cost of money. And all these make investors, all of us, that we are investors in renewable energy, to be more skeptical and to have, let's say, double check all our decisions on investing. So let's say that energy transition is a must. This is something we are all working on this. We are trying to reduce our consumption in enhancing our efficiency. We are trying to increase our renewable energy footprint. As a group, we are now almost in 0.5 gigawatt assets under in operation. And by early 2025, we will have 1 gigawatt of renewables in operation. And based on our targets, they are all now under construction. This 1 gigawatt, the remaining half of it, we will have at least 2 gigawatts by 2030. I think that as a group, as an energy group, we are trying to have specific targets in the area of renewables, in the area of our industrial footprint. We are now introducing green hydrogen. As I told you, we are hard to abate industries. And apart from electricity, which is a portion of the energy we consume, we also have chemical procedures and thermal energy requirements. And all these, some of these can be used having green hydrogen or blue hydrogen, which means we have to apply carbon capturing. We will use this to produce synthetic fuels, and at the end of the day, minimize our footprint in carbon dioxide. This was my initial, let's say, thoughts regarding the decarbonization in our sector. And this applies to all the areas that we're working in the Balkan states. And of course, I'm here to discuss various other problems and provide some thoughts. And I'll give you some food for thought, like a wish list I would like to have, we would like to have as industry. The one is to enhance international interconnections, grid interconnections, in order to have a better, more robust, and more efficient electrical network. To have some incentives, both regulation and both on financial aspects, in order to support this. And at the end of the day, cooperation in the innovation sector. We need disruptive technologies because, as I told you, decarbonizing industry, steel industry, cement industry, oil and gas industry, everything needs new technologies. And these new technologies cost a lot at the beginning. We have to invest on them, support them, and mature them in order to have the correct tools for the transition in a low carbon economy. Thank you.
Spiros, thank you so much about your remarks. I must admit that you have already prepared the grounds for the next presentation, because you have managed in a few words to highlight those issues which, according to the discussions we have already, should be part of a broader consideration about how we can accelerate the energy transition, because we are facing significant problems not only in our country, but I believe overall in the region, as you have already confirmed, which need to be addressed not only from a commercially, but also from a political perspective, because we do see delays in the adaptation of the policies with the reality. And on such basis, I would very much like if you could stay with us, so we may come back. I'm not sure if we can switch the sequence of the speakers and have Mr. Kubias, unless if Dr. Mazman has some conflict, just because of the fact that the presentation of Spiros matches very well with the topic of Mr. Kubias. If this is feasible, we can then have Dr. Mazman later take the floor. Is that okay?
It's okay for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks to INE for the invitation. In recent times, the Greek market has experienced a remarkable investment boom in renewable energy power plants, with a very positive impact to the national economy. Over the past 2 years, however, it has become evident that a bottleneck has formed when these new renewable projects reach the stage of securing grid access. The licensing process of renewables is slowing down due to limited grid capacity, with investors having minimal to zero visibility as to when they should expect their projects to reach a stage of having grid access from the grid operator. In addition to the hurdles of new renewables, negative prices have become common in the Greek spot market. In April, we witnessed a historic moment in the Greek day-ahead market when negative prices were recorded for 11 consecutive hours for the first time. This symptom brings a significant loss of revenue for renewable units with feed-in premium contracts due to the suspension of operating aid payments when negative prices occur for a period longer than 2 hours. This phenomenon undermines investor confidence and reveals significant imbalances between investment appetite and grid capacity on one hand, renewable energy production and electricity demand on the other. Being a lawyer, my role is to address these problems mainly from an institutional perspective. And in our case, the design of the applicable legal framework and the delays that occurred in establishing a regulatory framework for battery storage has played a key role in creating the bottleneck. To be more precise, the licensing process of renewables in Greece is divided in 2 phases. Phase A involves the issuance of a producer certificate and the environmental license of a project, while Phase B involves securing grid access and obtaining the necessary permits for the installation and operation phases of a project. In 2020, the previous framework for production licenses was replaced by the new rules governing the issuance of producer certificates. This was an attempt to simplify the initial steps of project development. According to this new framework, The producer certificate is granted more or less automatically if the applicant meets specific criteria relating to the technical characteristics and location of a project. The 2020 reform managed to reduce the time required for completing Phase A licensing and has since led to a sharp increase in the number of greenfield projects reaching the stage of securing grid access, at which point, however, their development is put to a pause and cannot progress further to Phase B. This phenomenon can be explained by two key factors: the absence of the necessary grid infrastructural development to support new projects, and the absence of battery storage infrastructure necessary for creating additional electrical space and addressing the variability of renewables. The delays, especially in establishing the battery storage framework, rendered the imposition of high injection curtailments inevitable and contributed greatly to the phenomenon of negative prices that we are seeing today. To mitigate the bottleneck, several measures have been introduced by the Ministry of Energy over the past years, and a few more are in the process of being implemented. In April 2021, the Ministry tried to curb the surge of applications by introducing a letter of guarantee to producers applying for producer certificates, a letter of guarantee of 35,000 euros per megawatt of installed capacity, while a year later, the already established obligation to submit a letter of guarantee for the acceptance of grid connection terms offered by the operator became a requirement for requesting the issuance of grid connection terms. Both measures were designed to filter out speculative investments. However, they were not adequate in reducing the volume of projects waiting in the queue. In August 2022, the Ministry published a decision establishing a grid priority framework, prioritizing grid access for certain projects, requiring project owners to accept a lower installed capacity of their plants, highlighting the grid's limited capacity. In addition to these initiatives, the Ministry has promoted and is also continuing to promote battery storage, having launched 2 auctions so far for the award of investment and operating aid to standalone projects, while it is also looking to provide licensing incentives to operating projects for introducing batteries to their current design. Finally, recent legislation authorizes the Minister of Energy to establish a comprehensive framework for the imposition of injection curtailments, which have become a necessity for accommodating the increased influx of projects. So, with the above issues in mind, what are the lessons to be learned? What lessons has Greece has to offer to other countries? First of all, in my view, obtaining grid access should be the first step in a project's development process. It is very clear that grid congestion of the Greek transmission system has been compounded by the licensing framework's design, which requires investors to apply for grid access in the middle of the licensing process, after they have spent significant amounts of funds for project development, such as letters of guarantee or securing the land for the project, even though it is not certain that the electrical capacity required for the operation of their projects is available. Ensuring that the licensing process is synchronized with development of grid infrastructure is also essential. Infrastructure development should keep pace with the issuance of licenses. Encouraging the early development and integration of battery storage is also essential in order to effectively manage the variability of renewable energy and, as a result, reduce price volatility in the spot market. To achieve this, policymakers must legislate on the licensing framework proactively and launch the relevant state aid auctions without undue delays. Countries with robust renewable energy production must accelerate the process of coupling their markets with countries hosting energy-intensive industries, making it possible for producers to export at greater quantities when domestic demand is low. Self-consumption business models, especially those that do not involve injection of electricity to the grid, should be promoted as viable business models for investors of small-scale projects. However, policymakers should take into account that uncontrolled penetration of self-consumption units will reduce demand for electricity in the spot market and may drive prices further down. Lastly, if grid congestion cannot be avoided, the measures addressing the issue must be introduced, if possible, on a one-off basis and provide transparency to investors as to when they should expect their projects to reach commercial operation. Otherwise, efficient project planning is impossible. If we learn from these lessons and proactively address the challenges by implementing thoughtful regulations, we can make our energy markets healthier and keep investor confidence high. Thank you.
Thank you, Adonis. I think now it makes sense why I wanted to change the order of the presentations, and it was very important to contribute these milestones, these points, which we have as professionals seen over the years contributing to this bottleneck situation. I must also add that, as an example, in Italy, first you deal with the grid connection offers, and then you consider issues related to land, environmental issues, whereas in our country, the pyramid, we have managed to reverse it upside down. We started differently, and finally we reached a point where there is such a problem with the interconnection. Maybe there would be remarks and comments. We will keep them for the end of the session. I would like now to invite Dr. Mazman. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Mazman, for allowing us to change the order of the presentations. So you are most welcome to take the floor.
As you explained, you are right for changing the sequence. I think being better to understand the Greece situation. This is most. Firstly, I want to thank Mr. Stambulis to invite us. I have a presentation to show our energy transition in Turkey, especially in the renewable energy. You see, I think, my screen. Okay. This is Muhsin Madman. I'm a professional in a company. I would say the T-Dynamic. T-Dynamic is an investor and solar system installer company in Turkey. We have a investment in Greece, Romania, and Turkey also, and we make an EPC business also. Now I want to explain the Turkish situation. You know, the main motivation of the carbon net zero structure, and Turkey give a promise to be net zero in 2053, and for that we should do something. It's not easy to catch this top, I'll say, the target. And now in Turkey, a total capacity like a 110, 111 gigawatt installing capacity we have. Still, we have the natural gas and the coal is the dominant in this portfolio, especially in the production capacity. Maybe in the installing capacity, we have a wind, solar, hydro, and the others more than the others. And the renewable was 55% today in our main portfolio. But even in the installing capacity, in the production capability, still the natural gas and coal is, I would say, the dominant in our portfolio. And now only in the wind and solar, we have a big development. Up to this year, the wind was, I would say, previous of energy source for Turkey, but now the solar passed the wind turbines, and now like a 15 gigawatt solar we have in Turkey, and the wind around 12.5. And we want to increase this capacity in the new times. And what's our targets in Turkey? We say the electric energy consumption like a 330 terawatt hour, but the energy production also like a similar. We have a quite small gap. When we check the consumption by source, we saw as the coal and natural gas is the dominant, but the hydro, wind, and solar is coming up, and like a 40% of the energy is coming from the renewable, the hydro, wind, and solar. The solar share, we have a 15 gigawatt, like a 12% of the installing capacity, but in the consumption side, only 5 or 6% is coming from the solar systems. And so in our target for the energy transition, we want to increase our capability up to 2035, like a double. And the next 10 years means the Turkey energy installing capacity and also the consumption capacity will be increased up to double. And here we have a good news in this month in June. 44% of the energy consumption during the day is coming from the sun for only one day. And the ministry also announced that this one is a good news for the renewables and the carbon footprint. And to increase this one and reach the carbon net zero, we make a three mechanism, especially for to increase the penetration of the wind and the solar systems. We announced a new legislation, and all the license for the wind and solar connected to the energy storage to make a balance in the grid. And so now the wind should be minimum of 20 megawatt and maximum 250 megawatt license given for the wind. And if you take this license, you should install minimum of 20 megawatt hour battery. We say 1 hour battery should be supplied in the system. Also for the solar system, the minimum is a 10 megawatt and the maximum is a 250 megawatt. And totally, if you want to take the license for the solar system, also you should install battery systems in Turkey. And after this legislation announced up to now for the solar and wind, like a 250 megawatt hour system application is coming, but all not in how say we have a limited capacity, like a 30 gigawatt hour will given, and up to now we give around 33 gigawatt hour, and in that one 55% of that is a wind integrated energy storage, and 45% is a solar integrated energy storage. That means that Turkey up at the next 10 years have a plan to install 30 gigawatt hour battery system in our grid to to support increasing the energy, the renewable energy connection to the grid. And here for the energy transition, we have a plan by the ministry. The energy ministry in Turkey announced that the primary energy consumption, the increase, this one is in 205 million ton equivalents. And the electricity consumption the next 10 years will increase up to 510 terawatt hours. So to reach for that, our installing capacity now is in 111 gigawatt. We will increase to 190. And in this one, like a 53 gigawatt solar we will have. This means that now we have a 15. We should make like a 3.5 times more solar in the next 10 years from today. This means each year we need like a 4 or 5 gigawatt new installation. And also for the wind energy, the same, we have a 12 gigawatt, but we should reach the 30 in the next 10 years. And also for the, to use as a base load, we will add the nuclear energy to the grid, and we will stop the coal in the plan for the next 10 years, like a 7.2 gigawatt nuclear will be adding to the systems. And also for the to increase this and the carbon footprint, the main item is for Turkey. As you know, the carbon tax is coming, and now for the carbon tax, especially the iron and steel, fertilizer, and also the hydrogen production and aluminum production and cement, and all industries and quite strong in Turkey. And so Turkey will have many responsibility if want to continue to make a export to European Union. So for this carbon tax, they want to install more green energy, and they use the electricity from this green energy. So to reach to them, we want to increase the electricity consumption. Firstly, how to decrease the oil and the gas and increase the electricity like a 35%. And also in the installing capacity, we want to, especially wind and solar, we want to increase like a 45% of the total installing capacity. And in the house, the total share of renewable energy will increase up to 65%. This is the ministry's goals. And also for the flexibility in the grid, the battery capacity should reach 7.5 gigawatt. This is the energy ministry target. And now energy ministry give a license for 30 gigawatt, 30. This means that we will reach to this target quite easy, and we will pass it in the next 10 years. So, and also our energy ministry want to add the...
Can you, sorry, you may have the chance to come back, but can you come to a conclusion with the major issue that you want also to have it as your final statement? Sorry, just to keep the time running properly.
Yeah. I haven't many slides. I will finish it. And also the electrolyzer for the hydrogen production will come, and also the demand side should reach the 1.7 gigawatt. And also for us, the supply security is a priority for Turkey in the near future. And we want to be rational and digital in the future. And we want to, increase the renewable source and increase also the local source, and depending to the oil like a 70% in Turkey, in the especially the export import rate, we want to decrease it with this energy. And also the energy efficiency will be important for the energy transition, and we will supply how to make the stability with the nuclear. And we will left from the coal step by step, and we will adding the battery to the system, and the hydrogen also we will join to the systems, and the electric vehicle and the charging station will be dominant in Turkey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mazman. We have seen that Turkey's contribution in the energy transition based on your presentation is moving to the direction that most of the members of Southeast Europe are working towards. And it's very encouraging to see that an important country in the neighbor is trying to work out towards that direction. Although I have noticed that there is a significant commitment also to add nuclear on the green equation. But of course, as we heard in the earlier sessions, nuclear is always a topic for a discussion in this think tank venue that we have. Please stay with us just in case we want to come back to you. I think we can move now to Kostas Theophylaktos, who those who don't know him, he's an expert in energy efficiency. He also leads the Energy Efficiency Committee of INE. And please, Kostas, try to be on time.
Afternoon. After gas, oil, nuclear, I don't know what else, it's the time for the real fuel. And the real fuel is energy efficiency. I'm trying here to give you some definitions of that, and I'm going to stay in two of those. Energy efficiency is the use of technology that requires less energy to perform the same function, and the other one, energy efficiency is the fuel of the future. So keep that one in mind. 2 words about the benefits of energy efficiency, improvement in energy security, energy delivery. We have great influence on energy poverty and so on, and employment and so on. I don't want to stay much on that, I'm going to stay on this one, which is the European energy policy. European energy policy towards decarbonization in 2030 and 2050 is based mainly on three directives. Among others, it is Directive Energy Performance for Buildings, Renewable Energy Directive, and Energy Efficiency Directive. All of them, they have been recasted. I'm going to deal with Energy Efficiency Directive, but just to give you this slide where we have the one about the greenhouse gas emissions, that initially it was minus 40%, and now it's minus 55. Renewable, minus 32, now 40. Actually not minus 32, 32 electricity and so on from rest. And energy efficiency, it was minus 32.5 and now it's 36. The thing is that we have to achieve that one, having in mind that for 2020, we haven't reached one target, the 20% for energy efficiency. We just reached 17%. So that I'm gonna try this one to say it in few words. The first two, the initial directive regarding energy efficiency back of 2012 and the one recast in 2018, it has the one common thing, that all companies, large companies according to the European taxonomy, how can I explain it, 250 employees and 50 million budget, they have to have energy audit, to perform energy audit. The thing is that big problem that, okay, they agree with that and they had the energy audit, but they never ever, the majority of them, perform any of the proposals by the auditors because they are not obliged to do that one. Now we have the last recast, the EED 2023/1791. What is the difference? We don't have now big companies, but what we have? Average annual energy consumption, more than 85 terajoule. In the parentheses, I have it in megawatt hours for you to make the fast calculation. Here, it's over here. So those that they have average annual energy consumption, that one or more, during the previous 3 years are required to implement an energy management system. So that means that they need to take actions or go to the ISO 50001, which is every year they are checking by external auditors. And the second one, average annual energy consumption more than 2,778 megawatt hour per year. If they do not implement an energy management system, then they are subject to energy audit. So the game is changing. The game is changing, and from the Commission, they are pushing this directive to be part of the member states' legal framework in a year, no more than that. That's the ISO 50001, which has under its umbrellas a lot of other ISOs, and especially 50002, where it's that how to perform an energy audit. And I'm coming here, which is, I believe, for industry, it is important to say a few words. Energy efficiency in industry plays a key role because it's improving energy security, environmental sustainability, and of course, economic performance. The industries in the European Union account of 9% of global industrial energy demand. To comply with the agreed policies explained before, European industry will need over the next 30 years to reduce energy consumption and reduce it in order to reach the climate targets. In Greek industry, we have the following. We do have a decrease by 42% from 2000 to 2001 of the energy consumption. And this is due to three things. Energy saving. There is no doubt that large industries in Greece, they are performing audits and they are performing also the energy audit proposals, resulting from the implementation of measures to improve energy efficiency as well reduce activities. A lot of them, they left the country and they went to neighboring or other countries in the Asia, and structural changes. Now, few months ago, 8th of February 2024, European Council and the European Parliament reached an agreement, something very important, on a net zero industry act. What they want to do, that one by 2050, strengthen the competitiveness of the European industry, which is, you can see it, that is lagging from the American, Chinese, Australian, Canadian. That's no doubt about it. We are back, we are behind. Secondly, create quality jobs. Important is the role of the universities in Europe to create new directions. And the third one, support the EU's effort to become energy independent. So, one slide final about energy audit. Why we need to do it? It's complete knowledge, scientifically proven, of the existing energy situation of any industry, solid proposals. Usually the energy auditor is not performing, is not proposing energy efficiency measures without discussing with the technical department, and of course, better quality of the final industrial project. So, now, thank you very much. Don't forget, energy efficiency is first. This motto is the first time introduced in the directive, the new directive, the recasted directive, along with the energy poverty. It's the first time in a directive the European Union is discussing measures how to improve and eliminate energy poverty. And of course, if you don't measure energy, you don't count it. So it's like diabetes, this one. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kostas. I think you managed to establish a parallel discussion. Of course, energy efficiency complements the entire discussion about the energy transition, and it is a standalone issue too. And you have persuaded us, by the way, that we need to deal with energy efficiency in parallel with all the other discussions which we need to keep alive in order to design a more effective energy transition process. It comes very natural, as we have handled the discussion, to invite Professor Agis Papadopoulos, who has the capacity of being the chairman of the Thessaloniki water and sewage system of the city, which actually hosts the ENA event. Στο πρόγραμμα δεν την έχω εδώ, στο τυπωμένο. Ας τη βάλουμε μετά, δεν πειράζει. Είναι, εντάξει, αλλά δεν πειράζει. We would like, I'm switching again into English. Professor Papadopoulos, we assume that heading an organization as such, we do anticipate that as a utility, you face multiple uncertainties to address the climate change, energy transition, let alone the volatility of the economic background. We would really appreciate to hear your remarks and your experience heading this organization in the city of Thessaloniki.
It's a pleasure being amongst experts and good friends from the old. Yes, I have to confess I'm sort of a split personality. I mean, for the last 30 years, I'm a professor in energy systems, having specialized in solar thermal systems. So I never dreamt that I would see a day when we have so much renewable energy already in our systems that we have to curtail the production. But anyway, And on the other hand, now for the last five years or so, I'm chairman of the board of a company listed in the Athens Stock Exchange that provides water to 1.1 million people and sewage services with a turnover of about 75 million euros, and which is a happy energy consumer. Anything between 25 and 35% of our operational expenses goes for energy, depending on how the prices go. So as you can understand, both energy efficiency, renewables, and everything else is important. At the same time, I think everyone who is in business, in some sort of business, understands that we are living in times of uncertainty. We have climate change, and for a utility operator like us, climate change is not something abstract. It means droughts and where we can find water. It means flash floods and how to deal with them. And by the way, this is a regional problem. You cannot limit it to a country's border. You have rivers and you have lakes, so you have to deal with it on a regional level. Obviously, we have the security and of energy supply with its impact and cost. We have infrastructure that it's partly aging, and this affects, speaking of the whole southeastern Europe region. If you see, you have water pumping systems that are more than 50 years old. You have wastewater treatment facilities that date a long time back. So we have to deal with that. We suffer under high capital costs and the volatility of the stock markets because it's a very unstable situation we're experiencing. And of course, we have to speak of sustainability because anyone, the transmission system operator, for example, or any water supply system knows that if you have a region where you have 4 or 5 times your peak demand over summer compared to winter, like in the touristic regions, no utility can deal with that in an easy way. It comes at a cost, and it is always difficult to handle. Now, the good news, we have heard some of those. I mean, we have renewables, obviously, and also we have some new commercial forms of renewables, or at least new in some markets. Let's say a virtual power purchase agreement, which allows a company to have a hedging for the energy purchase prices over some years. We have high quality stuff that can adapt easily to the requirements of the new times, because we have to be aware of the fact that changes are implemented by people. They are not implemented by themselves, especially in regions where the demographics don't help, to feature engineering stuff that has the capacity to adapt, to have some new training and to be able to implement those new technologies is quite important. And I think there is also this whole ESG stuff that may sound very fancy and is also fancy, but to a degree, at least for a company, it helps imposing, let's say, a new culture and new ways of approaching things. What is the bad news? The bad news is that this costs a lot of money. And when it comes to energy efficiency, which by the way is the thing to start with, or to renewables, we have to ask ourselves, what is the willingness of our society to pay for this? I think it was Charles Elinas in the previous panel that gave an outlook of how things might look next year or so in Europe and in the world, depending on how elections in Germany, in France, and the States will run. And I think we have also to ask ourselves, as experts in the energy sector, has everyone gone mad and is against energy transition, is against renewables, is against progress? Not necessarily, because if you ask people to pick up the tab for a very upfront, heavy investment, without securing that the utilities or the companies will be able to have the initial capital, let's say, paid back over a reasonable amount of time, you will end up with situations like in Germany they had with the latest law about heat pumps, which was politically a disaster, also for the technology, by the way. Furthermore, if things leaking from Brussels are to be believed in, the next budget of the EU will have a nice shift, let's say, from funding of agriculture and from funding the energy transition into funding into the defense of Europe, which is not a bad thing. But I'm afraid that the 700 billions needed by 2030 to support the energy transition for energy renovation of private and public buildings and so on and so forth will turn into something more capital intensive and less paying dividends, to be fair. But okay, we have to be prepared. And finally, let's say, as a professor of energy systems, I'm not necessarily convinced that setting goals that are very ambitious is the easiest way to make them acceptable by those who will have to bear the price for implementing them. As a utility company, we do our best to try to share, to distribute the cost evenly over a longer period of time. But we have the good fortune to run in a regulated environment because water is a monopoly and it has to be treated as in a fair way, not necessarily in the UK, if I would think of what has happened to the Thames sewage system. But we are lucky in that sense. Other utilities, natural gas, electricity, and so on and so forth, are not so lucky. So, yes, we have to move, we have to accelerate, we have to invest more in energy, in green energies. Nuclear is also a case of green energy, by the way, just to put my humble comment. But we have to think of how this will be done, how this will be financed, and who will pick up the bill in order to achieve, at the end of the day, a realistic result and not a failed attempt that will lead in stranded assets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very informative discussion and presentation you made heading a utility these days. And of course, you managed to go broader than from your capacity as the chairman of the utility and share as an energy expert your opinion about where we are heading and all the restrictions that we may have to address in the near future. I have to move fast and ask Dr. Kristina Lazarova, who is the founder and general manager of a company based in Sofia, Bulgaria, under the trade name Environmental Group for Global Solutions. Thank you for being so patient with us, and we welcome you to this venue today.
Thank you. I would like to thank to Kostas Stambolis that I can participate in this conference. So we consult and help municipalities and private companies to take advantage in the process of green transition, efficiency, sorry, I apologize for that, so circular economy and decrease their carbon footprint. So probably it would be good to start from common to individual. I will be short, I promise. So our main goal is sustainable economic growth of coal and energy independent regions. So we have untapped economic potential, and we have to know that our priorities actually are independence, economic growth, efficiency, sustainability, and of course we have three main pillars which are the base of this process: societal acceptances and economic and social transformation toward zero emissions economy. The future development of energy sector is in the efficient use of conventional and alternative energy resources, the development of energy market and smart systems, the direct involvement of citizens and society in the energy transition, and the main challenge in this upcoming energy transformation is the successful implementation of reforms in regions with a carbon-intensive energy sector. That is enormous and very, very huge problem in Bulgaria, actually. The transition of these areas requires complex horizontal measures, a high level of investment, and of course active social policy. A sustainable shift to low carbon energy will be faced in by smoothly replacing fossil fuels with new low emission technologies in such a way that systemic adequacy is not compromised. We have to increase our energy infrastructure grid, of course. From January this year, we have a tripartite agreement with Greece and Romania to conduct our efforts in green transition process. We have to take advantage on that, of course. We have territorial just transition plan of the core regions. We have to use it properly and with sense. Of course, we have in Bulgaria finally our draft version of integrated energy and climate plan, and this plan now is on public consultation till 28th of June. Of course, we have financial resources from various sources, grants, EU programs for environmental projects, regional development, energy efficiency, subsidence, and etc. And we have modern ecological solutions, hydrogen and renewable electricity storage and improving energy efficiency have to be essential elements of the ultimate goals, which will help build a climate neutral energy system. From our side, we need to use existing permits at our power plants to build new sustainable installed energy capacity there. Our damaged and polluted land due to coal exploitation has to be prepared for industrial needs or used to build new renewable installed capacity. We should not use actually arable agricultural land to install renewables. I have to mention that I'm former chairman of the board of the directors of thermal power plant Bordeaux, based in southwestern region in Bulgaria, which installed capacity is 630 megawatts, and there I take advantage for the decision to start building 100 megawatts photovoltaic plant with storage. We take permission to connect the Bulgar Transgas infrastructure grid to have a project for hybrid natural gas and hydrogen turbines, and to reorganize the damaged land to be used for other industrial projects. And for the end, we have all the countries here, this part of Europe, and not only that, in Europe, we have to have a green public procurement that involved life cycle assessment of the materials, process for building, and etc. Now there are lots of different regulations, especially in construction sector, aviation sector, and etc. So everything's going green. Yeah, and finally, we are co-beneficiary with approximately 40 partners in Life After Coal project financed by European Life Program with leader partner Eastern Wielkopolska region in Poland. In that region, there are several lignite coal power plants and lignite mines with more than 20,000 directly employed. The aim of the project is to support the community of residents of the region and to promote knowledge and eco-development and to building a climate neutrality process management system and at the regional and local level. So we are part of the project because we have to have various sources, financial sources. We participate in the project with several climate advisors directly involved in the two regions of southwestern Bulgaria. And we have to implement good solutions from Poland here in Bulgaria, and from here, the good solutions to Poland as well. So that's it from me.
Okay. Thank you very much. I sense that you have tried to present from an environmental perspective the topic that we have been discussing already, the energy transition. I've noticed some messages that you try to pass on, that land, agricultural land, should not be used for the development of green projects like photovoltaics. I hope all these items, the messages, although there was a fast-track presentation, the audience has managed to absorb and digest. But we will follow up. Thank you very much. We need to move on the next guest speaker. It's Mr. George Drossos. Mr. George Drossos is the founder and the manager of Green It of Greece. Green. Okay, Green It. I read it here in the program. Thank you for being patient. You come last, but not least.
I will use the extension time wisely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Papamichalopoulos. I want to thank ENE and Mr. Stambolis for hosting us here today. It's an honor to participate along with such distinguished speakers. I'm even more excited that I'm speaking at the same panel with Mr. Agis Papadopoulos, who used to be my professor during my university career at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. So I'm here to speak about Regreen It. I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm active in the energy sector for about 20 years, focusing mainly on renewables. 2 years ago, we developed a new startup called Regreen It, which is a digital platform developed to adopt the growing needs of the energy second-hand market, focusing on renewables, energy, electronic equipment, and relevant services. What is Regreen It? It's a digital platform that gives an answer to what we do to the equipment that reaches the end of its life, or it's in the middle of its lifetime, or you want to repair it, you want to refurbish it, you want to find relevant services. So let me share with you a small video that will help everybody understand what is Regreen It. Okay, hope you can see it. So to make the long story short, just to add two more things, Regreenit is supported by the Athens Chamber of Commerce and especially from the Athens Business Incubator. It's an innovative platform. I invite you to search it. It's and check how it works. It's free and it gives an answer to waste reductions, energy and resource conservation, energy saving, ESG policies to all the companies that are active in the energy and renewable sector. And it's, let me say, it's an answer towards green energy transition. Thank you very much. I hope I was fast.
Thank you very much. It was quite innovative, and I believe you gave us a different direction now, and to think towards another very innovative tool, which as consumers, sooner or later, we will reach that point, if not already. That's why business-wise you have developed that, and we will make sure that we will take full advantage now that we have met you, and next time we hope we can meet physically here in Thessaloniki. Thank you very much, Mr. Drosos, Mr. Drosos. I think we managed to absorb this half-hour almost delay, and I should encourage questions if they are. We still have the panelists online. Is somebody willing to address one of our speakers on a particular matter?
I want to ask Mr. Mazman something, if he's with us.
No, he isn't. He isn't. We are advised that he's not, okay, unfortunately. But you may, through the ENA platform, reach out to him. Spiros, maybe because you were the first to lead the opening session, would you want to make a conclusion from your side, because having Hellenic Energy Group on board here is very important, having heard also the discussion that has taken place?
Yeah, I would like to add only one comment, which is a simple sentence. Climate change mitigation targets correspond to economic development targets and just transition targets, both enhancing social welfare. So that's the basic, that's the fundamental, and based on this, we have to invest in low carbon economy.
Well said, and thank you very much. Is anybody interested to? Well, but you will make a question, right?
Not really. As a matter of fact, this time just a suggestion. As a matter of fact, some.
Who would you like to address?
Yeah. To address the general audience. I mean, we are entering the conclusive phase. Of course, but you know, nearing it. And in connection to the the previous speakers, two things I thought it would be worth, so to say, emphasizing for possibility of somehow trying to make a dent and trying to push them further and adopt them somehow in this green agenda and everything else. And it was mentioned by the other speakers as well, of course, the point that the natural gas should be granted, or should be tried to be granted, the status of a transitory or a transient transient energy renewable. That kind of a status, like the nuclear power, for example, has. You know, I mean, comparing natural gas and nuclear as renewables is almost, entertaining. So in view of what was said, that we're going to be needing it even in the 22nd century, and in view of the transition, and in view of the increased building of thermal power plants in major countries of the world, such as in China and India and Mexico and everybody else, it should be considered most seriously, I would think, from a forum like this one, especially as the baseload capacity is, so to say, the name of the game, due to the intermittence of the solar and the photovoltaic. And if we could somehow orient a little bit of a discussion along those lines, I think it would be a whole lot more realistic and pragmatic, trying to achieve these very ambitious goals of the green agenda, which is almost utopic at certain points, it looks like. But we ought to try to do our best so that we don't come up with a false diagnosis and the false practices like it was globally seen and with considerable consequences with a COVID story. We don't want another COVID story in the green agenda, in the green transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it was a statement. Just to make it easier, of course, natural gas was a clean energy, so this is how it started. But as you may know, EIB, down in the road, started deviating from this original position as being a clean energy fuel. And we found ourselves in the middle of investments for combined cycle gas-fired power plants with gas-fired, actually, which are not getting any more funding from the EIB unless if they convert to hydrogen. So this is my contribution. Thank you all very much for being so active, audience, and thank you very much to our guests who are not here, our panelists. We thank you for being very patient, and we look forward to see you next time or in another venue in Athens.
But I'm surprised that we're talking about energy efficiency and renewables, and the question is again in the discussion about natural gas. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So next time, 2 sessions about energy efficiency to penalize you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.